But we'll get to that at 3. I actually want to start with the Anthony Davis news today, that the stars are starting to align for the Golden State Warriors to trade for Davis. We've known they were interested. You started to hear the rumblings that they want to bring in LeBron to play with his longtime BFF totes, Steph Curry, and maybe equally because of Clutch Sports and that whole relationship, Draymond Green. So they're going to put their end-of-career Avengers together like the Lakers did when it was Karl Malone and remember
Gary Payton. And of course I do.
That was a wacky
Good
Avengers.
for them for trying.
Yes.
Do what you want. But
the Warriors are trying to do that.
Yeah.
With Draymond and Steph and LeBron. And the fourth linchpin piece is that LeBron wants to be back with AD, who we won a title with in Los Angeles. Here's the problem with that. How does that help me? Right. I still have a say in all of this.
I'm not here to be your farm system.
I get what the Warriors want to do. I know what LeBron and Rich Paul and Clutch Sports, and I get it. I know what they're trying to assemble, and that's cool. Good for you. Have a blast. Enjoy yourselves. Draymond Green, because they're pulling the strings. The puppeteering is ongoing here, where it's everyone said he was going to get this contract from the Warriors that he just decided he's not going to get now to save some money so they can go get Anthony Davis. Cool. They are dialing it all up. The plan is in play. Anthony Davis is mine. I traded for him. I need to get something back. And that is my frustration in all of this. What about me? And I don't mean Grant Paulson, I mean the Wizards.
But kind of. But this is always my thing. When it comes to the NBA in general. Again, a lot of this is sort of the more modern version of the offseason drama, and even in-season now bleeds into offseason. People are more concerned about player movement and agitating for trades and stuff than the actual game of basketball. We were reminded with the finals and the Western Conference finals, oh yeah, when the basketball actually happens, it can be pretty great. This is now the business of things. I'm not here to be cannon fodder anymore. There are teams, the Kings, the Grizzlies, the Wizards, name that group of Jags that are just sort of if you deign us worthy, we shall accept your hot garbage and be a refuse place so that thou might ascend to mighty glory. No more. Contender now. I'm here to win things. I'm not here to be the W on your schedule. I'm no longer a pushover. New Orleans was forced to do this years ago when Anthony Davis was I signed my deal, trade me to the Lakers. And there was one place he was going to go. They put up a fight for a while, but then he went to the Lakers. I'm not here to do that. It's got to be worth it. I'll do it. I'll make a trade, but you need to switch in the pot for me.
Yeah, the super plugged in NBA diehard might be able to make the case to me that it's more perception than reality that the sport is just an opportunity for the really good teams to call the shots, and the lesser teams have to just kind of do whatever the agents and the star players want them to do. But that's how it feels constantly. And that's what's happening in front of our eyes, depending on what the Wizards get back. But I've got to say, Michael Winger, Will Dawkins, who have done such a good job throughout this entire build-up for the Wizards, I don't know what would lead to them trading him to the Warriors right now unless they're getting a third team involved. They have to get a third team involved here. The Warriors don't have what I want. People keep tweeting me. I'm at Grant Paulson, by the way, on Twitter. And they're saying, we'll get Yaxel Lindeberg, who they just drafted outside of the top 10. No, you won't.
I don't think you will.
You're not getting Yaxel in an Anthony Davis trade. You got Anthony Davis for almost nothing. He has very, very little value. But to get him, if you're desperate to put this team together, you should be able to get at least back in terms of draft pick compensation, pick swaps, whatever, what you gave up for him. Why would his value have fallen since you went and got him? That's the problem I have, Danny, right now, is if I'm the Wizards or a Wizards fan like you and I are, they traded 5 picks for this guy, 2 late first-rounders in 3 seconds, and about $40 million in expiring salary to go get Anthony Davis. 2 years left on his deal. Now he's a year closer to free agency, which theoretically is more valuable because it's an expiring contract, and teams jump at those. You're going to trade him 4 months later for $57 million in inspiring money from Jimmy Butler, who I don't want anything to do with, and 1 first-round pick back from the Warriors? No way. I'm not doing that. My bar is 2 ones and some pick swaps, and you need to go find a third team or else don't call me back.
Yeah, so the Warriors, as I understand it, have some future draft capital that they could use. And for the Warriors' perspective, just to offer that for a second, I wouldn't do this, to be honest with you, because with all due respect to Steph Curry, who I think now is probably a top 10 player of all time, the window to do this was a couple years ago. They, with him as their best player and a group of aging veterans and some kids that haven't really come along, we're in the 9-10 playing game.
Guy, LeBron wants it, then it's done.
Well, you and I both know that.
He's coming there, and he says, this is the move I need, and Rich Paul's doing his little whatever,
Sure.
agent running everything. He's like Boris on steroids. If Scott Boris had the ability to run teams, basically.
Yeah.
Like, we don't see this in any other sport. But then it's just going to happen. I agree with you. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Now, in order to do that, this move, if it is real, by the way, I still don't know that it all is. I think this could just be let's agitate enough, let's put a few things out there pressure-wise, so LeBron gets a sweetheart deal to go back to LA to keep any kind of production company crap going or whatever it is. I have no idea. But let's say you take it at face value. For the Warriors, if it's the ultimate win-now move to go with a bunch of guys, either 40 or close to it, or an aging, oft-injured veteran like Anthony Davis, you're going to give up future picks. Like that's how you would do this to position yourself. And if you're the Wizards, you go, when this comes crashing down, and you believe that it will in a couple of years, and they're terrible, those future picks might actually be worth an awful lot, especially kind of given the new system, where if you were one of the bad but not abominable teams, you've got as good a shot at the top of the lottery as anybody. So all of a sudden, that becomes a bit more enticing if you're willing to play the long game. You take on Jimmy Butler's terrible deal for a guy that probably will never play for you, and it's the same kind of moving, chess piece that a Davis deal would be.
I would assume if they trade for Jimmy Butler's expiring contract, Butler would never play here. Right?
Just the timetable and
a buyout would be my preference, just so that it's not even a lingering thing hanging over the team for an extended period of time. But I guess it's possible he could just be rehabbing wherever when he's eventually ready, because I think it's midway through the season, the expectation before he comes back from a serious injury. Then you could flip him to a contender because they'll want the expiring deal if they have the cap space, and they might be able to get something for him as they vie for the postseason or whatever. I'm not sure. But I don't see Jimmy Butler as a fit in any way for what's going on here. In fact, I think it would be, not that he's a bad player, but I think you've kind of lined things up for some kids to get some run here, and at positions where he would help you, you've got options that you like. So a guy like Jimmy Butler coming in here to play with A.J. DeBonsa and Keshawn George and Will Riley, the group that they've assembled, Trey Johnson trying to get touches on the perimeter, is not that interesting to me. So it's the only way this deal works. I mean, it is almost a formality, I would think, if you're trading Anthony Davis to the Warriors. Butler, because of the $57 million,
has to be to make the salary work.
Just to make the money work. But that doesn't mean he'd have to play here. We've seen that over the years.
Sure.
Remember Mike Bibby's time with the Wizards? That was always...
What was his favorite moment? Your favorite moment of his?
I never saw him at the arena.
Yeah. Did he ever show?
But that's one of those NBA things that could happen. But I'd be curious to see what people think about whether or not the Wizards could benefit from this. I've actually been on board with trading Anthony Davis all along, as you know.
Yes.
I think this is the right play, and I've thought he was going to be traded all along. But this Warriors thing, when you start to get like Draymond and LeBron and Rich Paul involved, it worries me that you're just going to end up being the chess piece.
Yeah, you're pressured.
You just have to okay, I guess. I'm sorry, Mr. Davis. Here you go. So I just gave up 5 picks for this guy.
To give you an idea of the phenomenon Grant's talking about, I yelled this a couple years ago. Nobody cared about it, of course, because no one was interested in the Wizards and the NBA at large. When it was just sort of declared how much power Clutch Sports, Rich Paul, LeBron, and everybody wields. When it was just sort of declared, Bronny James is going to the Lakers in an open draft situation. If you knew that, why in the world wouldn't some team go, if you're that desperate for him, for father and son to play together, I'll take him. What are you going to give me?
Right.
No one did that. Everyone just said, oh yeah, right away, Mr. James, of course. We shan't be drafting him, even though he's gameless. No, like, it didn't matter to anybody. We'll take some dude from Europe and do a draft and follow and keep his rights for 7 years while he plays in the Yugoslavian league or whatever the hell. Nobody cared. That's the amount of power where it's, no one touched that guy. Okay, so this gimmick story that had to play out, we'll just do this out of courtesy to Rich Paul and LeBron James because you don't want to run afoul of them because then you can't be involved in the next cool trade. That's the amount of power that these guys wield.
Bill just sent me this at Grant Paulson. He says, well, you're going to get out of signing Davis to the max deal he's asking for. You get out of an expiring contract in Butler. Do you really want to pay a guy $70 million who's going to play 40 to 50 games? No. See, this is the larger point. I'm never paying Anthony Davis an extension at some max contract. That's the number one priority. It's why I prefer to trade him. What I'm saying is I need to get close to 100 cents on the dollar. again, he's a year closer to, he's an expiring contract essentially now. His value, if anything, should have gone up. He's healthier than when they acquired him. They acquired a guy that couldn't play at that moment. He can now immediately play for your team, and you're getting the expiring deal. You can negotiate with him if you'd like to, what have you. But I need to get back at least what I gave. To get back less than that, again, to acquire him 2 late first rounders and 3 seconds and $40 million in expiring salary. And you think for $1 million, for a first round pick and $57 million of Jimmy Butler, I'll just say, man, that's awesome. Let's do this. No. If I'm Winger and Dawkins, I'm not playing ball on that.
It's a game of those HGTV shows, Flip This House, right? That's what you're doing. Is you went in there and you bought a distressed asset that nobody was really that excited about. You paid a premium for it, and you need to sell it at a profit, right? That's kind of what you're trying to do.
How about this? It might look bad. I at least need to get back now what I gave. I would even take that, which is an L when you really look at it because of all the work you put in. But yeah, I would like a profit. That's why I bought the house. But I need back something equal to what I gave, right. And I don't even think what we're hearing rumblings on is close to that.
It doesn't sound like that, and that's a good point. But it's, in other words, if it's just similar assets but different times, right? Where, just for the sake of argument, if you line up when the picks occurred, if it's now we're layered into 2028 and 2029 and 2030 with extra picks, maybe when the bottom falls out in Golden State, maybe that makes more sense in terms of practical usage as to how you're building a team. When some of the contracts of these young guys are up and you're deciding keep, move, free agency, whatever. The point is, that's really what this is. So to me, I'm going, how do I move Anthony Davis at the utmost profit to me? And my MO has always been the CJ McCollum method. You play here, you demonstrate that you can still be Anthony Davis.
You play your way out.
Because right now, people aren't sure. Now, LeBron might be, and Clutch Sports might be, and maybe it's one of those, God, we're scared you'll never be, and we might lose on this, so let's just take what we can get and cash out now. But to me, the maximum value is if Anthony Davis does Anthony Davis things for a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever, now we go to the contender. Now people are willing to go, yeah, we got a shot at a championship. We'll pay that premium. If you think right now the buy it now price on eBay, so to speak, will never be exceeded by him and his play, I understand making a move, but I'm with you. It's got to be richer than what's being advertised here.
The other part is you have the leverage of the player is under contract with you, and even if he doesn't want to be here, which he has not said, he didn't choose to be here. I think he's made that known. He is open to the idea, but he wants to win. He is as nice as possible, essentially said he would like to go in a championship this season, which means he'd probably prefer to be somewhere else. But that's very different than demanding a trade. Mm-hmm. But the words demand a trade are more powerful in the NBA than in any other sport. But I just think there's no rush and no reason to do this other than LeBron said so, or, Rich Paul wants this, or that, which supposedly carries a lot of weight. Like I saw an NBA reporter in my timeline today said something like, this could go very badly for Winger and Dawkins if Anthony Davis and Rich Paul actually demand a trade. Then there would be a lot of pressure on them to get it done. That's where this sport is just so much different. Because that means nothing in other sports. I'm the GM. This is my team. Mm-hmm. You have signed a contract that I have inherited. You are on this roster. And I prefer at some point to get a deal done. That's been the prediction all along. I just need value back.
Yes.
I'm not trying to hold you hostage if you don't want to be here, which is different than what we've heard, by the way. Uh-huh. We have heard from Michael Winger. We have heard from Will Dawkins. He wants to be here. I don't buy that necessarily, but I don't think he hates being here. I don't think he feels like he has to get out. But that's very different than wanting to be here. I don't think he would have signed here. You traded for his rights. He didn't choose to come here. Very different. But, in fact, let's play a couple of audio clips really quickly. I thought for sure he was going to get traded. I've kind of thought all along it was going to happen, but when John Wall sat down with the Junks draft show that I was on that night over at the Anthem, and he basically said he might get traded tonight, which we knew wasn't going to happen. But his prediction was that he was going to get traded before the season. That was telling to me.
I don't believe so. In my opinion, I don't.
Pause that real quick. The question he actually was asked is, will Anthony Davis be on this team for the first game of the season? Go ahead.
I don't believe so. In my opinion, I don't.
So do you think he'll be traded before the season or at the deadline?
I think he'll be anything. Anything's possible. It could be a trade tonight. It could be a trade before the deadline. I think so. I think at the same time, he wants an extension. You know what I mean? You see right. Trey just get one. He has 2 years left, 58 this year, 62 next year, which is a lot of money. And you got young guys that's coming up for contract extension, a rookie extension. So I think it's going to be a tough part. You got to see what happens. But most importantly, he got to show that he's healthy to see if he could be tradable.
That goes back to your point. Go out, play basketball, help us a little bit, and we'll help you. You play well, we'll get you out of here at a decent value.
Yeah, they were very transparent with McCollum about that.
Michael Winger saying that Anthony Davis wants to be a Wizard very recently.
My conversations with AD are delightful. He's a pro's pro. He understands who he is in this league. He understands the direction of the league. He understands what we're trying to do organizationally. He's communicated to me a strong interest in being part of what we're building. That's great. That's great to hear. It is, of course.
That was Winger with our guy JP on NBC4 just before the draft. And then lastly, here's the general manager, Will Dawkins. This was on night 2 of the draft when the Wizards were maneuvering the board in the second round. Dawkins talking about the relationship with Anthony Davis.
And with AD, again, he wants to be here. We want him here. We'll have that conversation in the middle of August when we can officially have that. But again, I think we're building something here in D.C. where people want to be here and want to be a part of the turnaround. And our fans are behind the guys that are here and excited to add AJ and everyone that we added tonight in the draft and Akbar as well. So
since then, the rumblings began in kind of a fever pitch today as we find out that maybe the Warriors have some plans in the works to end up bringing Davis in to play with LeBron, who they would still have to add, and Steph Curry, and a contract that was supposed to have happened has not yet as well. That makes everything look like it's in the works, I would say. I mean, when you have a chance to get a deal done and don't, and everyone's going, well, we heard this was going to happen. Why is that the case? It's the money that they're setting up for everything, basically, that was turned down.
This is what happens so often when you get the Brian Windhorst of the world, the Shamses of the world. I was just thinking about this. When the horse leaves the barn, right, where, okay, the puppeteer behind the scenes in his very dark room takes the puff of his cigar and he goes, Warriors, make it so. And everybody has to scurry. It's sort of like, it's really hard to advocate for your own team. It's really hard to say, but we'd like to be good too. We'd like to build something special. And these guys are too smart talking about Winger, Dawkins, and company. They understand that. But at the same time, it's one of those, do we not get to do business now in the future with any of these clutch sports guys if we don't just go along for the ride here? If we're not just a passenger?
That's another tricky part. I mean, people talk about this with Boris. Just never draft a Boris player. They got a lot of the best players.
Yeah.
And to some extent, you have to have a relationship with that agent so that you can do things in the future with their players. The money I'm talking about, by the way, $27.7 million. Draymond Green declined on an option to become a free agent. Sources tell ESPN the move gives the Warriors flexibility to pursue LeBron in free agency and Anthony Davis via trade to form their big four. Everyone thought he was just going to take the $27 million. He's going, now I'll play for way less than that. Let's get the boys together. What do you guys think? 800-636-1067. What would you need back? What would you ask for from the Warriors to trade Anthony Davis? And could you get behind a Davis trade before he ever plays a game for the Wizards? 800-636-1067 on GND.